That self-awareness is getting to know yourself better, knowing your strength, your weaknesses, knowing your values, your personality type. So today we are looking at a very interesting topic, making good friends and mental health. Now that you're aware of yourself, you now want to have this friend, or you already have friends. So you need the same self-awareness will help you to making good friends. So today's topic, making good friends and mental health. When it comes to making good friends, did it ever cross your mind to say, if you don't make nice friends, it can ruin your mental health? Or if you decide to make good friends, your mental health can be healthy. So as human beings, when we are sad, we all need someone to be there for us, and when you're having a good time, we need someone to share that with. This is the friend who is always there for us. We need to share that good news. And then when we receive a bad news, we need someone to tell us to say, no, Covenant is going to be fine. I believe everyone is having friends, and to some people, they do have challenges with making friends. So I'm sure this topic of today will benefit you a lot when it comes to making good friends. Now we want to see, who is a friend? I've got friends, you have friends. Now who is a friend? So a friend is someone who shares your values. So someone who shares your values, that is a friend. Then a friend is someone who is loving all the time, and someone who is there in times of need. A friend is not just there for you, when you're having money, when you're having a good time, even when you're having a bad time, when you're going through hardships, a friend is always there. So a true friend is someone who is not always there for you when you have money or when you're in a good state, but someone who is born even when you're having hardships, someone who is always there for you, not those type of friends who run away from you when you're going through hardships. So that is a friend. So as we grow into adulthood, we all need friends. But again, when it comes to making such friends, it becomes so hard because people have got different personalities. People are being raised, from different backgrounds. We grew up from different environments. So making friends, is something very hard to do. Now, there are just some things which if you are trying to make friends, you need to look out for. Things like, a friend who has got, admirable qualities, qualities which you can be able to admire. Friends who've got praiseworthy standards. If you look at these friends, people are able to say, no, if you can have such type of a friend, you can live a good life because they've got standards which are praiseworthy, And in addition, friends who've got positive influence. These are type of friends that you need to look out for. Now, I'm sure you are now wondering, where can I find this friend? Or if maybe I'm having this friend, and then they don't have such kind of qualities, what is it that I need to do? So now, how can you find such a friend? A friend who's got admirable qualities. So every time you are trying to look for someone to be a friend, you need to look at 3 things. So the first thing that you need to look for is admirable qualities. Yeah. So not everyone, who claims to be your friend, can live up to that level of friendship. A lot of people, they claim to be your friends, or I can claim to be your friend, but not knowing that I can't live up to that level of friendship. There are friends who are ready to break one another. We've seen friends, who've spread rumors about others, who've spread, gossip about others. But there are also some friends, who are there. Friends who are closer than a brother. Just like your brother is, just like your sister is, there are also some friends who are like that. Whenever you're having a challenge, they're always there for you. So it's just a matter of applying that self-awareness which you learned, even when it comes to finding right friends. Now, try to reflect on something. Try to think, have you ever had a friend who took advantage of you? I'm sure you are smiling right now because you remembered someone, who took advantage of you. And what about that friend who talked behind your back or spread some rumors about you? Many people, they've been disappointed. Some people, they've gone into depression because their friends have spread rumors about them. They were talking behind their back. They were gossiping about them. So, if it's such kind of friends, you need to be very cautious. If a friend can do such kind of a thing, there is no need to having such kind of a friend. And such kind of an experience, you're having this friend, who is spreading rumors about you. It leaves you feeling, like your mental health gets disturbed because you lose the trust of having that friend. Even when it comes to making other friends, such is a challenge. And to some people, you get stressed, you feel that pain, you develop anger issues within yourself. So that is very bad when it comes to such type of friends. Now, always remember that when it comes to making friends, quality is more important than quantity. Many people, they always make this mistake. They always have friends because of their quantity. The things which they're having, it could be maybe someone has got a good accent, they're able to slang, they can wear that, they can try that American accent. Then you say, no, that's the type of friend that I need. Maybe someone has got a fancy car, expensive house. Such kind of things, they are very bad. So you need to be very cautious. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. The qualities that someone have, those are the things that really matter most when it comes to making friendships. So wherever you're going, if this day you want to make friends, or if you already have a friend, these are some of the things that you need to look at. If you met such a friend because of their quantity, this is time now you need to reflect, on your friend. You reflect about yourself and how best you can be able to make that decision. If it's either cutting that friendship or doing something which can benefit the both of you. Now, what is it that you can do? Close friends who have qualities of praiseworthy of imitation. I'm sure there are friends, who are there for you, those ones who've got praiseworthy, qualities that are worthy of imitation. So those are the friends that you need to look for. Friends who've got qualities like love, friends who practice confidentiality, friends who are patient, friends who possess kindness, friends who've got self-control. So these are friends that you need to look for, empathy. So if you're having such kind of a friend, this is a friend whom you need to cling on to because they've got good qualities. Now, ask yourself this question. Do my friend or friends reflect these qualities? The qualities that I've mentioned so far, love, kindness, empathy, someone with confidentiality. Do they possess these qualities? If they don't possess these qualities, it's time for you now to make a good decision. Many people, you tell your friend something, the next day you hear it somewhere. There is need for you to reconsider your friendship. So, on your free time, you need to list the names of your closest friends, about 3 of them. I don't know how many friends that you're having, so you need to list down those names. Then next to each name, you need to put the traits, which you love most about that friend of yours that you're having. And sometimes it could be, let's say maybe you've listed John, Mary, maybe Peter. Then next to that name, you put the traits which you like about that person. Then if maybe some of the negatives comes to your mind, if there's no good about that person which comes to your mind, there's need for you, to reconsider your friendship, meaning that your friendship that you're having is not healthy. Why is it that the negative part of that friend, they are the ones which pops up first, to your mind? You need to reconsider that. And if you don't consider it, it's going to make your mental health at risk, because certain friends, they can make you indulge in sexual activities or any other thing which can put your mental health at risk. So we looked at admirable qualities. So we've seen that when it comes to making friends, you need to look for friends who've got admirable qualities like love, joy, empathy, friends with confidentiality, self-control. So these friends, they are the type of friends that you need to look for. And then we've also seen that when it comes to having friends, you don't need to go for quantity. You need to look for quality, qualities which will benefit you and your friends when it comes to making friendships. Yeah. So the other thing is, praiseworthy standards. You need to look for friends with praiseworthy standards. Now, what are some of these praiseworthy standards? So when it comes to making friends, there are those friends which people can say, no, if you have such type of a friend, it's going to benefit you, because, people are able to appreciate their behavior. So always note that the more desperate you are when it comes to making friends, the more you settle for wrong friends. And once you settle for wrong friends, it's going to affect your relationship. Not just your relationship, it's also going to affect your mental health. Just the same as with when it comes to looking for a partner to marry. When you are desperate to having this wife or to having this husband, a lot of people, they've settled for wrong partners, and they've even divorced as we are talking right now. So you need to practice patience. So choosing friends wrongly will make you suffer great consequences, because many people, they've become drug addicts, they've become sex addicts, they've become gamblers, all because of having wrong friends. So this is something that you need to look at when it comes to making friends. People have chosen to be friends have chosen others, to be friends, to be friends of them, even when they know that, they are morally insensible, they can't reason even on good things. Yeah, so you need to think about that. Even as you are watching this program, it could be you are watching it live from Facebook, you are watching it from your homes, on your TV sets. So this is something that you need to look out for. Yeah, so there are friends who would tell you to say what is good is bad, and what is bad is good, or what is bitter is sweet, and what is sweet is bitter. There are those type of friends. So you need to look out, you need to be open-minded when it comes to such friends. For example, friends will tell you, no, taking alcohol, it's just okay, you need to take it, it's your life, it's not about someone else's life. Having a girlfriend, you can do sex with her, there are those type of friends. So you need to be very cautious, and you need to make firm decisions, because if you're not careful, many people, they've been imprisoned because of the same thing. Many people, they've gotten HIV, STIs, and others have even lost their life because of making poor friendship. So this is what you need to do. You need to make, good friendship. So if from your circle of friends, you've identified to say, my friends are not okay, these are the type of friends that you need to do away with. So you need to cut such type of friendships. So this is what you can do. Try this. Instead of making anyone your friend, you need to be discriminating when it comes to your to making friends. You need to be discriminating or selective when it comes to making friends. So when I say discriminating, it doesn't mean that you need to be prejudiced, when it comes to making friends. No, but you need to have a good perspective enough, when it comes to making such friends, to see the distinction between good friends and bad friends. So that perception that you have between a good friend and a bad friend, so that you can be able to choose good ones from bad ones, that's being discriminative. So this is what you need to do, when you're at home, it could be when you're at work, when you're at school. You need to be discriminative. You need to see the difference between, a good friend and a bad friend, and be able to make a good decision. So there are those type of friends in our communities where we come from. It could be at work, it could be at school, even on social media. Social media is full of different people. Any type of friend, you find him or her on Facebook. So you need to be very careful. Certain friendships, they've led people, into prison. More especially when it comes to Facebook bullying. Just because your friend is bullying others, you also join to be part of them. Just because, you want to have fame. So you need to think about this, because it may land you into problems. Just because someone has insulted you or made a silly comment on your post, then you also want to start responding the same way. You need to look at the type of friends whom you are supposed to be associating with. Even when it comes to your friends, your Facebook friends, you can decide to have good friends. If you've seen that amongst your friend list on your Facebook, it could be Instagram, they are not okay. There is need for you to unfriending them or to blocking them, because if you continue associating with such type of people, they'll land you in trouble and your mental health is going to be at risk. We've seen this, and once you're being bullied, even your mental health gets disturbed. Now, ask yourself these questions. When with my friends, do I always feel nervous, if they try to ask me something that I can't do? Do I always feel nervous? You are with your friend, then they try to tell you, no, do such kind of thing. Do you always feel nervous? So if you always feel nervous when your friends try to tell you to do something, it means that you are having wrong friends with you. It could be they tell you to do sex, to abuse drugs. No, just smoke a little. There's nothing wrong with smoking chamba. So you need to change the circle of your friends. It could be fighting. So please, these are some of the things that you need to pay attention to, because they might ruin your future. Then the other question that you need to ask yourself is that, am I reluctant to introduce my friends to my parents, fearing that my parents are not going to approve of them? You're having this friend Mary, you're having this friend John, and then you're scared, I can't introduce this friend to my mom because mom will say, no, this type of friend, no, don't ever bring him or her here. You need to make a firm decision when it comes to such friends, because if you can't introduce something to your parents, it means that such type of friends, they are not okay for you. So if you answered yes to these questions, this is high time you looked for better friends and you seek for help when it comes to having friends with higher standards. So we've seen that when it comes to making friends, you also need to consider friends with praiseworthy standards. So once you're having friends with praiseworthy standards, it's going to make your mental health healthy, and even your parents are going to approve of them. And even the way you behave, the way you react in that given community, your behavior is going to be very healthy, because you won't possess their bad traits, so to say. Then the third thing that you need to look at is positive influence. We've seen a friend with admirable qualities. We've seen a friend with praiseworthy standards. The other thing is a friend with positive influence. I'm sure many of you, some of your friends, they can't just encourage you on good things. It's always bad things. But you don't need to worry. No wonder this program is there for you. If you have bad friends with you, you don't need to feel bad, because once this program is done, you're supposed now to start reflecting when it comes to making good friends and cutting off bad friends. Yeah. So positive influence. You're having 5 friends. So do you have friends who've got positive influence on you? Friends who add more to positivity, to your friendship. So always remember that Bad friends ruin good character. No matter how good you are, if you're having bad friends with you, your character is going to be ruined. Bad associations spoil good habits. If you are having these good habits within you, if you are having good qualities with you, once you associate with bad friends, your behavior is going to be ruined, including your mental health, because they'll drag you into, their habits or their behavior, so to say. So certain friends, for them to approve you, they want you to do the things which, they want to do. For example, if you want to be part of us, you need to do this. You need to insult, you need to bully someone, you need to have sex, you need to smoke. So such types of friends, are better to do away with, because you deserve better. You don't need friends who say, on the condition you do this, that's when you become a friend. No, come on, you deserve better. There are friends who can make, there are people who can make you good friends. Once you are fully aware and you start looking for such kind of friends. Now, this is what you can do. You need to cut off ties with those who insist that you change for you to fit in, to their lifestyle. So for you to suit their lifestyle, they say, no, you need to do this. So such type of friends, they are the ones that you need to cut off. So if you take this step, you have less friends. I'm sure now you're wondering, now if I cut off, Beatrice, if I cut off Natasha, will I ever have friends? That shouldn't be a problem. Quite alright, you are going to have less friends, or you are going to have a zero friend if you only had one, but that will just make you feel better, and it will even improve your mental health, and it's going to open doors for you to find good friends with positive influence, friends with praiseworthy standards, friends with admirable qualities. You need to let go, and the doors of good friendship, they'll be opened. So that's what you need to do. And there are friends who are looking for good friends. So once you let go of such kind of friends, it's going to open doors so that even those friends, they can be able to recognize you. Now, you need to ask yourself these questions. Do I change the way I talk, the way I dress, or the way I walk, or I act in a bad way to please my friends? Do you do that? Many people, they change the way they dress for them to fit in. If at home you wear a chitenge, then you are with this type of friends, then you need to wear a miniskirt or anything just to fit in. This is time for you to change the circle of your friends, because you're not associating with good friends. You need to change your friends. If you change the way you talk or the way you walk, when you're with those type of friends, this is time for you to change your circle of friends. The other question is, do I find myself to bad places that I can't go to if it weren't for my friends? Many people, they find themselves at long places. They find themselves clubbing, they find themselves drinking at bad places because of their friends. So if you find yourself at such kind of places, you didn't want to go there, but just because your friends said, no, let's go to such a place, and then you've gone. This is time for you to change those friends, because they will definitely going to ruin you. So if you answered yes to these two questions, you need to go to your parent, you need to go to a mature adult, or you can come to us, psychotherapists, so that we can help you when it comes to making good friends. Friends who've got positive influence in you, not friends with negative influence on you, friends who are going to ruin you. And always know this, that everyone makes mistakes. It's very normal for people to make mistakes. So when your friend injures you or does something very bad, you need to forgive. I know many of you are saying, no, she can't be my friend because she did something bad. It's part of us as humans to make mistakes. So once we are sorry, you need to forgive your friend. But if it becomes a habit, you need to reconsider such type of friendship, because it's a threat to your health, even to your mental health. So this is what you need to do. Then this is the tip for you. You need to live by upright standards, so that others can be able to appreciate you, and so that others can be able to see your praiseworthy qualities, to see your upright standards, so that they can be able to make you as their friend. Let's say I'm struggling to having this friend, then I'm looking for those qualities. So I'll try by all means to start looking from the people around me. So if you're also struggling to find such a friend, then you also start working on those qualities, meaning that it will be very easy for me to notice you, and I'm going to be your friend because of the qualities that you possess. Now, if you just start dying inside, or if you just stick around to those bad friends, I won't make myself your friend, because you don't possess the qualities which I'm looking for. So you need to look for good friends, so that you can make the best kind of friends. Now, this is an assignment for you while you are at home. This is for you. Wherever you are, you can get a pen, you can write down this, or you can even use your phone, when it comes to writing this. So ask yourself, what qualities would I value in a friend, and why? What qualities would I value in a friend, and why? So you need to answer that question, the qualities that you would want in a friend, then write them down. What qualities do I need to work on to be a better friend? It's not all about others, your friends. Even you, for you to be a better friend, you need to weigh yourself. You need to look at the qualities which you're having. If you're not having good qualities, starting from today, it's never too late. You can start working on your good qualities. You work on perfecting your qualities, so that it can be easier for others to notice you and to be friends with you. So on your free time, while at home, these are the questions. What qualities would I most value in a friend, and why? The other one, what qualities do I need to work on to be a better friend? Please, on your free time, try to work on these qualities. The other thing that you need to do, you need to talk to your parents about your friendships. Parents as parents, try to create this nurturing environment, with your children, so that it can be easier for them, to having these conversations with you. So please, on your free time, and when you see that your parents are not doing anything, try to talk to them about your friendships. You can ask them, the time when they were young, the type of friends which they were having, and if they regret having such kind of friends when they were young. Such kind of conversations, with your parents, they are going to help you when it comes to making good friends. And you can also ask them how you can avoid, encountering such kind of problems when it comes to life. So if your parents did bad things because of choosing wrong friends, when they were young, then they tell you to say, no, I made this problem, because I had bad friends. So you need to ask them, what is it, mom or dad or uncle or anyone, that I can do for me to avoid such kind of problems from happening in my life? The other thing that you need to do, you need to introduce your friends to your parents. It doesn't matter if this is a guy, it doesn't matter if this is a girl. You need to introduce that type of friends to your parents, because it's going to help you. So if you're too hesitant, to introduce such kind of friends to your parents, you need to ask yourself this question: why is this the case? Why is it that you don't want to introduce this person to your parents? Could it be that your friend is having a bad trait? No wonder you can't introduce such type of friends to your parents. So you need to reflect on this. So if you've said, I can't introduce this friend to my parents, there is need for you, to change that friend whom you're associating with. The other thing that you need to do, you need to be a good listener. So for you to be a good friend, you need to possess this quality, good listening skill. You don't need to respond to your friends. You need to listen to understand to what your friend is saying. It doesn't matter if they're saying something bad, if maybe they're upset with you, you need to sit, relax, and listen to what they're saying. And once they've said to say, no, on this area you're not doing anything, you're not doing something right, you need to reflect on it and be able to respond in a good way and work on the things which are not doing fine. So these are some of the things that you need to do. Then the other thing that you need to do, you need to be forgiving. We all make mistakes as humans, so you need to be forgiving. I've seen some people, once a friend does something wrong, they throw away the friend. I need to look for someone else. Always know that as humans we make mistakes, and you need to sit down with your friend. You talk to your friend about it and see how best you can be able to work on the friendship which you are having. And if it becomes a trend, that's when now you can think of looking for some other friends. I can have good qualities, your friends can have good qualities, but I can make mistakes. Not that I'm not having these good qualities. I'm having them. I have empathy, I've got love, but because I'm human, I can make mistakes. And it's just a matter of sitting down as friends, then being able to correcting each other. But there are those people, who don't have these qualities. There's nothing good about them. Wherever they are, it's all about gossiping others. It's all about talking about sex, talking about drugs, talking about gambling. Nothing is good about them. Such kind of friends, they're very bad, because once they hurt you, they're not remorseful, for their actions. Such type of friends, they are the ones whom you need to do away with, because you deserve better. Then the other thing that you need to do is you need to give your friend some space. I've seen some people who are too clingy. Just because I'm your friend, now you just want to be calling me every time. I try to cut your call because I'm busy. If you look at me right now, I'm presenting this. Now I'm having these friends. They're just trying to call me. I cut. They call me, I cut. You don't need to be clingy. You can have friendship, but you don't need to be clingy, because once you're clingy, many people, they are going to throw you away. They'll say, no, this type of friend, no, because you don't understand your friend. As humans, we are all busy. Some of you are at work. Then if you're having this friend now who is always at home, they just want to be calling you. It becomes something very bad. So you need to give your friend space. You don't need to be clingy. Then you need to understand that when you call someone once or twice, if they don't pick up, you don't need to call them again. You can just send them a message, say, when you're free, call me back. That's very perfect. You're going to make good friends. But once you start giving someone 20 missed calls, come on. What type of friendship is that? You look to be more desperate for the same friendship. So you need to have a balanced way of this of your friendship. You can have good friends. I've seen people, they're very good friends, but they don't always talk to each other on phone unless when there's something important. And if you are well educated, you even know to say, no, my friend is very busy. You even make appointments when you can be calling a friend, because we have a lot of things to do. Even you are looking for that friend, but you also have some things to do in your life. So you need to have a balanced view of it. Yeah. So this is what you need to do when it comes to making friends. Now, again, when it comes to making friends, this is something that you need to do. These are type of friendships that you need to create. Strategic friendships. Not really romantic. I'm talking about strategic friendships. So this is what you need to look for. Now I'm sure you're wondering now, what is this strategic relationship or strategic friendship? Yeah, it's very possible for a man and a woman, or a man and a lady, a girl and a boy, to have this strategic relationship. A relationship where you can both benefit. It doesn't really involve kissing or having sex, no, but you both work towards certain goals. For example, you want to learn how to write, maybe how to sew, or how to do anything which can benefit you both as friends. So you get this friend of yours, you sit down, you start talking, seeing the best how you can be able to work on the same goal and to be able to accomplish it. These are the type of friends that we need as youths. Yeah. So as youths, as you're trying to make this friend, you should also think about your future, because anything that you do now, it will have a huge impact on your future. If you are having bad friends now, think about yourself in 5 years, 10 years from now. Where are you going to be? You are going to be jobless. Maybe you have 5 children from different fathers. Such type of things will happen because of having bad friends. But imagine if you are associating with good friends. If your friends whom you're having, they have good qualities, they have praiseworthy standards, they have this positive influence within them, you're going to build a good friendship. Even your future is going to be very good. I'll give an example. If you hang around with 5 friends, let's say these 5 friends, they are always at church, they always talk about God, they always sing to God, anything to do with God, these friends. Then you say, no, I want to be part of this friend so that I can become their friend, I can become the number 6. Now, what would happen if you always hang around with these friends? You try now to get the traits which they are having, meaning that you start reading the Bible. Even if it was something hard for you, you try to do that. You read the Bible, you try to adapt to the things which they talk about. Now imagine if you pray around with 5 friends who love studying. Wherever they are, it's all about books, it's all about solving mathematics, it's all about science. They talk about things which are upbuilding, meaning that once you join them, you are going to possess their qualities. You even develop, the skills of studying. Now, come to think of it, these are friends who always smoke, they always drink alcohol carelessly, they always sleep around, they always gossip. Wherever they are, it's all about fighting. Then these are the friends now that you want to join, or they're the friends now that you are having. Try to think, what do you think will happen to your behavior? Do you think your behavior will be very healthy? Or just your mental health? Do you think it will be very healthy? No. It's not going to be healthy, because you are going to possess these traits which your friends are having. So for you to have good friendship, we've seen that you need to choose friends with good qualities so that you can't get the bad traits which they are having. Me being a psychotherapist, I also have friends. Yeah, I have friends, though my circle of friends is just too small. I think I've got only 3 friends. Yeah, I've got my grandpa Roy, I've got Flicker, yes, and I also have my mother. These 3, they are my friends. Yeah, sorry if I didn't mention you, doesn't mean that you're my friend, but those ones I can call my real friends. They are the ones which I've mentioned here. Yeah, so I chose them because, they've got these qualities within them. If I do something bad, they are able to correct me. And they've got qualities like empathy, confidentiality, love. So, personality types, or let me say qualities which are building to my relationship with them. I'm where I am right now because my friends have been there to molding me. Mom has been there. So even you can make good friends when it comes to choosing good friendships, And Something that I can tell you is that your mother or your father is a very good friend, because they will never tell you something wrong, unless otherwise maybe they've got narcissistic personality disorder, or if maybe the environment which your mother grew up from, such kind. But as a loving mother, they can never tell you something very bad. So you need to consider having your parents to be your best friends. You never go wrong, because your mother can't tell you, do this, do that. Yeah, so this is what you need to do. So where you are there home, please, this topic has benefited not just me, it has benefited even you. You need to reflect. You start reflecting, on your friends, the things which you've done because of your friends. Many people, you've accepted to request that you didn't want, or because of your friends. You did wrong things because of your friends. This is high time for you to reconsider, such type of friends, so that you can choose good friends within you, friends who are going to uplift you. This is some of the things that you need to do. Now, I've talked a lot. Yeah, I'm sure many of you now would want to have direct contact with me. Therapist, where can we find you? You've presented this topic nicely. We've seen to say, when you are making friends, we need a friend with admirable qualities. We don't need to follow for quantity. We need to follow quality. We've seen to say, therapists, we need a friend with praiseworthy standards, a friend who's going to build us spiritually, physically, socially, mentally, psychologically. These are the type of friends that you need. We've seen we need friends who've got, a positive influence, friends who are going to lift us higher, so that we can become very successful in future. Because I'm just young, I'm in my 20s, and once I associate with good friends, even in my late 40s, my future is going to be very perfect. So the same thing you can be able to do. So if you want to be in contact with me, you can call me on 0964 94 50 90, 0964 94 50 90, or 0972 66 20 88, 0972 66 20 88, or you can reach me on our Facebook page, Heart and Soul Transformational Therapy Center, Heart and Soul Transformational Therapy Center. So once you come to me for therapy, or once you come to us for therapy, we'll be able to guiding you, when it comes to making good friends, even when it comes to academic, therapy. If you're having a challenge with your academics, if you're having a challenge, such type of things, we'll be able to help you. So thank you so much, for listening to this program. You've been with me,